for our panel of judges today? Someone in the back?
Yes.
Good morning. I guess my question is, as judges, do you prefer to hear a response that's laden with evidence, or do you prefer to hear maybe more of a general response, but they have a really working knowledge of what the question's trying to sort of get at, if you will? Sue?
Depends on the question. I'm sorry to respond that way. That's an iffy answer. But to me, the responses are driven by the questions. If the questions can only be answered by providing evidence, then they need to provide the evidence. If it's a what do you think or how do you explain or how do you understand kind of question, then names, dates, places, and battles don't respond. So I'll take your question one step further for a comment you probably didn't even want to hear. Please, when you get the questions, work with your students to analyze what the questions are asking and make sure they understand the questions before they rush to the internet, which I think is happening more and more often, to look up canned answers.
I think that even with respect to the more general questions of what do you feel about things, I want to hear evidence. I don't just want, well, someone made a reference to Oprah or Jerry Springer. I don't want to just hear people talking about their feelings. I want to hear what is the rational basis for the position that they're taking, the arguments that they're making. So too much generality is going to be a problem to me, no matter what the question is.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that, you know, the first cardinal sin is not to answer the question in the opening statement. I mean, that is very hard for a team to get past. But they're going to need to be prepared to the extent that that there are historical references, particularly in the opening statement, or references to Supreme Court cases or something like that. They need to be prepared for often inevitable follow-up questions about those cases, about those specifics, and it's very disappointing to have a team, say, cite a Supreme Court case, particularly a leading one, in their opening statement or even an answer to a question, and then be clueless on a follow-up question about that case. You know, just make sure your teams, if they're going to cite to something specific, that they at least can drill down a little bit with respect to that reference.
Good morning. Yesterday our group saw a lot of different paces between the groups, how quickly they spoke, and different reactions by judges as to how quickly they like the students to speak. So I was just wondering, what is the preferred pace at which you wish the students to speak?
It's that Mozart line about, only so many notes as are necessary. It's got to be, it should, the opening statement in particular, where I think this really comes up a lot, if it's like off to the races because they've got 4.5 minutes of stuff to say and they have to say it in 4 minutes, that's not good. This age group in particular, as we know, can speak very, very quickly, sometimes too quickly to be understood. I don't think there's any rule of thumb other than the amount of information that they're trying to get through in the opening should fit comfortably within the 4 minutes, and that ought to be the sort of thing that can be, you really can prepare for, and it's got to be, understandable. As we. Speaking only for myself on this panel, as I get older, I don't hear as well as I used to, and they've got to speak up, they've got to speak clearly, and again, in this age group, just by way of a practice tip, and this, I'm a big in favor of, videotaping and making them watch themselves and listen to themselves, or even doing it in front of a mirror or something like that. You don't need to do that in my experience, that many times before, you know, their eyes open and say, oh, that's how I sound, and it can make a big improvement.
Amen to having them videotape and watch themselves, and not just their canned 4 minutes or prepared 4 minutes, but their follow-ups. Because what's really distressing for a judge, I think, is a very articulate, rapid-fire 4-minute presentation followed and follow-up by, that's where the judges learn whether they own the material or not. So they need to learn to speak in a way that they can maintain in the follow-up in a different way, because it's a much more interactive form of communication. But if their normal speaking is at one pace and intonation, and they're doing a performance in the first 4 minutes, to me that's problematic. Something I found problematic yesterday as a form of presentation is a long quotation with each student saying 2 or 3 words of the quote. I can't follow it. And when it's just rapid fire, and at the end I'm supposed to have come up with a gem from some famous person, my ear just doesn't do it. So that's why I think videotaping is so good for them to see, and also to have their own colleagues see, have their classmates look at it who aren't doing that unit. Did it work for them? And I think they can be really good judges, perhaps more harsh judges of their own performances and understanding than we are.
With respect to the follow-up questions and the pacing there, I noticed that students like to jump in right away when the question is asked, probably because they're afraid that one of the other 3 might jump in immediately. But I think sometimes they jump in without knowing precisely what they're going to say, and they speak out loud as they're trying to answer the question. That cannot always work out well from a pacing perspective. That's hard, because we want the students to be active and engaged and participate, but when they start answering the question without having fully thought it through, or sometimes when they jump in and then when Sue says they're well kind of thing, that will hurt a